Shotgun to shotgun.
Doc Maki.
Whirlwind virtual conference. So honored to be here. My name is Dr. Adjua Head and today is 14 Meso Ra of the Kemet year 6260 and of the Akan year 13020. And the Gregorian year is also listed. All right. So, so what we should know as African people, Black African people, and I have to say that because the interlopers are everywhere, claiming all of us and our culture and our existence as we allow them to. And so what we need to know is that we are at war. And we are at a spiritual war at that. And let me see what this one. Okay. So we got to be ready, right? What they want. We're going to give them what they want, but we're going to get what we want as well. So we need to. My son's supposed to be up here helping me. All right, so we need to consistently execute spiritual strategies. We have to prepare ourselves and our children to fight so we can maintain and continue in the traditions of our African ancestors. And so we right here in the Black Power of I'm going to say Kem Meso Ra, Black August, and that's how you say that in Medu Neter. And so, you know, we need them symbols, them signs, everything that we can do to remind ourselves of the resistance struggles of our ancestors, our elders, our people who are incarcerated, our families who are here, our families who don't know. You know, we have to still say it, speak it, and bring that out into being, speak it into existence. So first of all, what is spirit, right? Spirit is that creative force which unites all phenomena. It's the source of all energy, motion, cause, and effect. In its dense form, it manifests as matter. We are spirit. We are matter. We are matter in a dense form. It is also the meaningful level of existence. That's from Marimba Ani. And I always convert my dates to the Kemet year, then the Akan year, and I put the Gregorian year last because, you know, I do what I can to, and you should too, do what you can to exist in African time. So African spirituality, I talk about that in my book, Acclaim, is my own personal definition, just from many readings and sharings and listening to my scholars, my African-centered scholars. It's a connected ball of energy that illuminates African people with the knowledge and wisdom of our ancestors, while simultaneously allowing us to comprehend the darkness or unseen, that metaphysical aspects of our beingness, our existence as a part of our entire human experience. Our beingness, our soulfulness, we exist as spirits with soul. All right, but so right now we know that this is a lot of people, a lot of us identify this as the Gregorian year of 2020, and Kemet time is 6421, and then and in Akan time is again 13020 because the Akan year starts in September. But we all realize and recognize that this shift that's happening. It's a lot of things being unveiled, a lot of things, truths are coming out about people, places, and things, and there's a lot of instability. It's the energy, the force of the universe that's causing all of this to come about. Not to mention just some ignorant people that are in control of a lot of aspects of our lives, right? So this shift is happening. You know, the world's people are waking up from spells. You know, what we need to do is not be distracted by negative agendas, false news, low frequency foods, low frequency entertainment, nor by any of the demons that are busy at work. And there are a lot of them. But we survived this. We've survived many more demons at work before, you know, and the fact and the truth of that matter is that we are here. So, you know, we're here. We exist right now. We speaking. We in this virtual forum. You know, we're sharing with one another. That's truth right now. Truth right there that we have fought these demons and continue to fight them. In any sense, transformation is underway and it's within you right now as we speak. And as you read this, is very real. Trust it, honor it, nurture it, cultivate it, protect it. The shift is happening right now. Oh, let me do that. Okay. All right. So is this part of the shift? I don't think so. Not on Disney's watch. It's something else going on. You know, this is spiritual and cultural misappropriation. I remember and respect the words of Marimba Ani when she says that we should never teach them about who we are. And you know that that's a constant question. That's a uh, constant force invite that they want to, you know, come in and be a part of us. So much to the point that, you know, those of us that don't know who we are as African people, you know, we don't know our customs, we don't know our traditions. You know, they take it, they find out about it, they repackage it, and then sell it to us. We buy it, you know, um, when all we have to do is read the words and look at and observe and know of the life experiences of first our own family members, right? And connect to them and essentially our extended family members as well. So what's the significance of African spirituality? I tried to put this PowerPoint in order of my title. So what's the significance of African spirituality? So according to Ifak Bemi Sangodaria, you know of him as Wade Nobles. So it's relative to our continued beingness, our soulfulness as African people. It allows us to exist and know that we are here, there, and everywhere, which we are. We are everywhere. Like we that. That's why I never use the term minority when I'm referring to African people because we exist everywhere on this planet. African people exist everywhere on this planet and beyond. We are hat, which is forever in time. This is from the deep well of African thought out of Anderson and Hilliard's chart that they put up on page 18 of Say Bye. So talk about African spirituality with your children. These two terms they should come from you. You know, you should teach them, tell them about it because um, actually it's going to be a shield for them. It will block energies coming from people that are trying to harm our children. And there are so many of them out there. They come bearing gifts, they grin, they present themselves as friends when actually they're trying to harm our children. So we have to talk to them about African spirituality. I just want to share when my children were coming up and I had them in certain programs and you know, I would, and they would say, what's the religion? What's your child's religion? And for my daughter, I would put Yoruba, and for my son, I would put Akan. And they could never, like, you know, so people that were running the programs, be they looking like us, you know, or not, they did not come for my children, you know, because they didn't know what to say to them, you know. And I would tell my children, okay, if they do prayer, like a Christian prayer or Muslim prayer, you don't participate in that. You can stand up, but you don't participate in that because your that's not your belief system. So you want to talk to your children about African spirituality. So Black folk can tell you about every religion under the sun, but many of us are too scared to talk about our own African spirituality. That's real talk and very true, very, very true. So ways to talk about African spirituality with your children is no, first of all, and I should have put Baba there. So let me quantify this. That first one, that Mama and Baba is the first spirits a child knows. Okay, because these are you in essence are spirits, and you have produced the child. So that's the child's the first spirits that they know. When children dress up as the ancestor, they are paying homage. This is something you can do with your children at home to uh, enhance the idea of African spirituality in them. They can dress up as their grandparents too. Their great grandparents. They can have a picture. They could have an item that belonged to them, and you can share with them some words that their ancestors may have said, and just ask them to repeat that to you and say, how do you think that Baba or Mama, how you think they said this, and tell them what to say, or allow them to read what the words of their ancestors. And of course we want to venerate versus worship, right? We want to venerate our ancestors at home, especially right now. We want to skip those external places because we don't know what kind of energy and bacteria environment are in the environments that many of us usually participate in. I didn't do that. I don't do that, but I recognize that some of our family does that. So these are ways you can talk to your child about African spirituality, and you want to be consistent with it when you are doing that. So raising an autochthonous African child, right? What is that? What is autochthonous? So we're talking about originating or formed in the place where they are found. Now, indigenous, indigenous. The synonym they had there was native. I don't use that word, so I just put a original. That's why it's in quotes. I put original there. So original to or produced within a system, right? Because those of us that exist here in this part of North America, many of us some of us was here, okay, but many of us have had, different experiences where we were forced to come here, and so this is what makes us uh, unique. We have our own uniqueness, right? So pertaining to autochthons, indigenous, sprung from the soil, we are Aboriginal in that sense. Aboriginal in two senses. One is that our family was already here, okay? And two is that when we came here, we produced more Africans. So the Africans we produce on these soils, Aboriginal, sprung from the soil. So hold on, I got my music. How do we be who we be, right? They don't know. They don't know who we be, right? who we be. They don't know who we be. Okay, so the answer, I'm gonna hurt my son because he's supposed to be here helping me with this. Okay, so the answer is in our connection or not to our African ancestors and worthy elders. I gotta say worthy elders because some of us are just older, you know, like we not sharing wisdom and knowledge, life experiences. We're not cultivating and sharing and helping to build um, Africans who will continue African legacies, right? And that's a choice. And unfortunately, well, let me just flip that. Fortunately, there are many who do that, you know, who identify as being African and care about African people, know about African ancestors, and teach the youth about their African spirituality via their connection to African, to the African ancestors and African people, right? And so part of the way that we do that is in knowing the African our story. And I want to say, knowing the African our story, you know, from an African centered perspective. There's plenty of information out there, and that, you know, presents another side of the African story, of the African story. But when I'm talking about the African our story, I'm talking about um, African centered story of African people. And so, how can or could our people fly? I got some music here. I don't know which one this is. You can tell I like music. Okay. This one is not going to play. All right, that's fine. All right. There's a book out called about for youth called The People Could Fly. And you probably wonder like really how. Oh, okay. She's telling the story. I don't want the story told right now. I probably don't have that kind of time. But she's telling the story about how African people, um, how the things that we do, strategies we use um, to 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 uh, take ourselves to different places in our minds, right? So that we can continue to survive, and so that we can endure and survive in these Yorugu hinterlands, and not only survive but thrive. You know, so that's something that we do. But this is an excellent book that people could fly. Read it to your young ones and give them that idea about, you know, how they can, you know, use their imagination, you know, to fly, to get away. This one I'm supposed to have. Okay. So this was supposed to be Donald Bird Blake, Donald Bird's those spaces and places out there, but I don't see my little speakerphone is, so it's not on there. But another way in which we fly is via our kaumbo, our creativity, right? We share music, song, characteristic features, and positive words and nomo to build African spirituality ideas within our children, right? We want to build up their EY Ray Ray, their good character. You know, we want to build that up. And usually children with good character come from people in their family with also with good character. So you know you want to cultivate that, and of course, good character is definitely an aspect of African spirituality. So, sharing the life stories of our ancestors and elders. So, it's through those ancestral connections that our people can or could fly. Like, you have sometimes you have stories, sounds, smells, sights that can take us across time periods. This is how we can travel, how we can or could fly. You know how, like, sometimes it could be a word, it could be an object, that sound, smell, something that sends you back to a time when something happened, sometimes bad things, but a lot of times good things that have happened to you in the past. So explaining the dark or unseen, that metaphysical, right? Our power is in our African youth being in touch with who they are as beings or souls, connected to those who have gone before, those who are here now because they are a part of the now, and those who are coming in the future. So it's our responsibility to assist them in knowing about those dark, unseen aspects, um, or metaphysical aspects of themselves. They should not be fearful of the dark. They they develop, they become human in the dark. And so in them becoming human in the dark, this is not, it's where they come from. So they should not be afraid of the dark. I'm trying to see, I see a couple people on here that are not that are muted. So I was trying to see if there's something that I could do, but I can't. Y'all missing some good stuff. All right. So the question is to be African or not to be African. So just as we are, our children are our ancestors return. So it's something that we should share with them. Tell them they are ancestor return. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. So we know that our ancestors exist in spirit form, and to know your ancestors is to know your spirit. You yourself are an ancestor return. So knowing your ancestors is knowing yourself. And so knowing yourself, and knowing the people in your family, because your children are ancestor return, so they're going to display physical features, um, habits, or mental capacities of their ancestors who have gone before. And you knowing that, you should tell them, oh, you walk like your uncle so and so. You sound like your baba so and so. You look like mama so and so. You look like auntie. Like you walk like her. You talk like her. Auntie used to eat her food like that too. Those kind of things. Because again, our children, ourselves, we are all ancestors returned. So when we talk about existing with African spirits, it's easy to do if you know them. Say their names and venerate them. This is what you teach your children. Now, this picture, I like it. It says spirituality is not a religion. Being spiritual just means you are in touch with your own divine self. Now, I tend to not agree with that top part. Spirituality is not a religion. I think spirituality is more than a religion, you know. But when you are in touch with your African ancestors, you should religiously commune and communicate with them about everything. And you should never let anyone tell you that they're going to speak to your ancestors on your behalf. That should not happen. So this is why I don't do things like I don't do readings. I don't accept readings from other people, because if I want to speak to my ancestors, ask them something, need help from them, then I will do that on my own. I don't need a go between for to communicate with my ancestors. So there's five aspects to the concept of the African self. They are ancestral or tribal. I don't like that word tribal. Relational or social. Your mind, the body, and the spirit, or your soul, or your ka. Okay. And oh, this is good to do. You can do those like those when dealing with um, assisting your child in comprehending the African concept of themselves as a person, as an African person. You can do those gingerbread like shapes, right? And you can make five of them in different colors. And you can write on the ancestral one, write the names of ancestors on there. You want to write the names of those ancestors that have been benefited your family. Like you don't want to bring in the ones who may have fallen by the wayside, or are not good for the family. Okay, you want to bring your strong positive ones in. Okay, and then do your relational, your social one, and you want to help the child comprehend, or use to comprehend uh, what their positive social aspects are. They have a beautiful smile, a beautiful voice. They are good at sports. They write well. They are good problem solvers. They put things together well, that kind of thing, right? And then again, of course, in develop in the mind, you want to talk about those aspects of their mind that you know of, and ask them what they think too. Like, what do you think is strong about you mentally? Like, what do you think that you do well? And okay, in the body, what aspects of your body do you like? Or which ones don't you like, and you want to help them get through the ones that they don't like, because they are who they are. So you either want to help them to change that aspect. I'm not talking about plastic surgery, I ain't talking about that, but you either want to help them to develop themselves more in terms of exercising, or changing aspects of their body, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the soul or the spirit, you want to, of course, like I said, develop that in terms of who they are as African people, who they are connected to, and the EY rated good characters, good characteristics of themselves. Okay, so here's the claim. This is my model that I created. It stands for African Cultural Consciousness Leadership Awareness Instructional Model. I created this model because I was in schools that identify as African centered. I knew of schools that identified as African centered, yet they were not, the African worldview was not prominent in the school, if it was in there at all. And so my idea was, wow, all right, so then to me, if you're not talking about the African worldview, then your school is not African centered. And I was in a school like that, so I was the only one, or one of a few. But this is my model of claim. The African worldview is at the center, right? You have Afrocentric instructional leaders who are aware of an African worldview. They accept it. Number three, they accept it, right? Number four, they practice it through Afrocentricity. And number five, they use that process of intergenerational cultural transmission, right? And they share what's good, what's good, what's those good things about African people that we want to cultivate in you and want you to continue and carry like throughout your life, you know? You, as a school or institution, you want to have policies and procedures in place that encourage and motivate and demand usage of the African worldview. And then the last part is that, you know, the you want to expand a network that will guarantee usage of the African worldview in the education of African youth. I'm a strong advocate for homeschooling, because I know that institutional wise, because we've been experiencing this all this time, it's just not going to happen. Like, they're not going to implement a model like this in traditional public and charter as well, because to do this is to free our children. And they want our children to continue to serve their children. So, but it's here. It's here. We can use it. So parents that that are homeschooling, you should definitely have my book, Acclaim. So Acclaim, we talking about who? African people. I gotta say Black people, because you know, interlopers, they're calling themselves African too, you know, and those people that are on our lands and, you know, identify as African. So Black people identify with the cultural or our historical memory of ancestry on the African continent. That's what I'm talking about when I say African people. Cultural customs and traditions created and practiced by Africans that allow for our continued thriving and surviving. Because we have some customs and traditions that don't do that. You know, they they are not good for us, so to speak. So, you know, we don't just want to just take anyone that's because it's a custom and tradition that's what we want to do. No, we want to do the ones that are beneficial and of beneficent, especially to our children. That was consciousness, right? An awareness of the global African our story and the possession of a willingness to continue that story. Like I mean, you could be conscious all day, you know, but what are you doing with that consciousness? You know, are you using it to continue the African our story is the question. And then what is it that you are conscious of? Because you could be conscious of a lot of things, you know, but okay, so what are you doing with it in terms of African people? Leadership is guidance in the ways of our African elders and ancestors. And remember, I talked about those worthy elders, because you know we have elders who are just older. So we don't want to, like, okay, you just older, you not doing anything, you just older. No, that's not the guidance that I'm seeking. Again, awareness, knowledge of our global African existence. I mean, people don't. I was a full grown adult before I realized that there was a place in Russia called Georgia where African people live. I just thought it wasn't no African people in Russia. Um, Instructional, the interchange and exchange of information, very important, because it's not that so-called tabula rasa, whatever that thing is, where it's the blank slate and the teacher is coming in there and just filling a child's or a younger person's head with information. No, that instruction is an interchange and exchange of information between student and teacher that is relative to African people. Now, the teacher doesn't have to be that professional teacher, okay? It can be, you know, older sibling, an older cousin, you know, especially because your parents, wazazi, are the first teachers anyway, okay? They are the first teachers. And this model Acclaim, it's a set paradigm for the beneficence. I want to, you know, I want to emphasize beneficence of African people, especially African youth and their African families who produce them. Okay, so we want beneficence. We're talking about what's good for African people. Okay, and doing and putting that in place in front of what we do for everyone else. We see this all the time. So to tie up, put it in a knot. Like, don't, you know, Remember, Ani talks about how we shouldn't, just give up our culture so readily and share it. Because, like I said earlier, they take it and do what? Turn, might cut off an edge and then, put it in a box and sell it back to us, and a lot of us buy it. This is what Disney is doing right now with Black is King. This is what they're doing right now with Black is King. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've seen aspects of parts of it. But I'm not paying Disney to watch that. I'll wait till it come on for free. I'm not giving Disney any money. He didn't like our people, and he's a racist. All right, we got to keep those circles intact, right? Talk about those. So this is a Bakongo cosmogram. This is wonderful to talk to use to talk with children about African spirituality, because you got lines, you got colors, you have circles, you have symmetry, right? You can also blend in some sacred geometry in here, and talk about birth, the living world, death, and the spirit world. So I think death in the spirit world is so fearful in a lot of the Yorugu societies in which we live in, because there's always their spin on those two concepts, and we need to bring that back around as a part of the full circle of life. That death in the spirit world is a part of the full circle of life, and so that's why a lot of times the media will put out information, about mummies and ghosts and that spooky thing, because that's the way that they think. But we have to always think in our own ideas of who we are as African people. I love this, the Bakongo cosmogram. And then there are so many different ones also that you can utilize. Like if you have an older child, you can have them do a more detailed, complex one, you know? And so this is just another way to build that idea of African spirituality in youth, in your children, and in your young teens, and even young adults. And you should do whatever you ask or speaking with your child about in terms of African spirituality. You always want to be the one to set the example. You be the model. So you share in that with them so that they know that you value it and they don't see it as just something that you're making them do or talking with them about doing and you're not doing. So take that time, to do that as well. Okay, so optimal spirituality, right? So reality is spiritual and material. This is what Linda James Myers just posted, on 8 May Surah, right? She just posted this. She talked about optimal spirituality. She said spirituality is both spiritual and material. She talked about the all. She talked about the divine mother. And she said that it was um, just just starting to become prominent. And in terms of leadership, and I didn't quite agree with that. I comprehend what she was saying, but just didn't quite agree with that. You got to look at the society that we live in, and so that is what will determine our ideas about African women and leadership. So we have the Sibyls and the Divine Black Mamas, right? So the Sibyls are women who came into existence because of their being not showing my notes. Okay. The Sibyls came into existence as a part of, excuse me, y'all, I apologize. I have my notes here. And I want to tell you about the Sibyls. But anyway, they came into existence as a result of African women surviving enslavement. And so, as a part of them um, surviving enslavement, they came into being. And we've always had our, we always call our mamas divine, right? We know mamas run the household with Baba, and in some instances when Baba not there, without Baba, but mamas run the household, and in that sense, they are divine to us. They bring us forth, they bring us life, they bring us forth, they bring us life, and in them helping to bring us into life. We love them. They are our first teachers. They teach us everything. Teach us everything. And then we have also that we want to remember the Minos and the Kentuckys, right? The Minos as the homie, people call them the homie Amazon, but Minos means our mothers in the fine language. So the Kentuckys, we want to always call on the spirits of the Kentuckys and the Minos, because we need that. Like, we need to recognize and acknowledge, and we need that energy. We need their spiritual energy so that we can maintain and sustain ourselves as who we are as African people. So we gotta fight. Like, we fight. We fight. That's why a lot of times you always hear about the so-called strong black woman, the angry black woman. Well, black women, we have to be strong. And sometimes but we're not always strong. Like, sometimes we need a hug. We weak, or we not always fighting on the front line. You know, and but some of us, a lot of us, fight on the front line to the very end. I never forget how Miriam Makeba, she was on the stage. She was in her 70s. She shouldn't even have been working, but she dropped on the stage. So, like, a lot of times we have to, we exist until on this realm until we can no longer exist on this realm. That's what we do as Black women, and we take care of everyone along the way. And sometimes that care is reciprocated, and sometimes it's not. But either way, we do what we have to do, and, and to produce our children and put them in place to continue African legacies. So Nana Kwaku, he talks about, Wade Noble talks about us doing these four things. He said we have to restore our African spiritual traditions. We need to use traditional healing. We need to know the science of the spirit. We have to rescue our families and communities by restoring wellness, right? We need to reignite light and love in our realities by restoring our Saku, that illumination, and Zola, that love that ignites our self-healing potential. Oh man, we in Philly, and it's like a lot of us are killing one another. It's crazy. Every day, our children, our babies are getting shot. Pregnant mothers are being shot. Like, imagine if, you know, these killers would use the guns on the appropriate people, those people that are hurting us, instead of people who are innocent. You can't even send your child out to play on the porch. It's crazy. So it's yeah, we gotta reignite our Saku and our Zola. We gotta love each other, love on each other. And then we need to reclaim our eldership and our wisdom, because the intellectual thing, we invented that. Like, we created all knowledge. So, let's claim it. Let's claim it. Not only claim it, but cultivate it in our children and cultivate it in them in a spiritual sense. So our Black Mesa Ra ancestors, we want to love on Marcus Garvey, the Soul Dad brothers, George and Jonathan Jackson, William Christmas, James McClain, Katari Golden, and Rochelle McGee. I'm sure it's some, and I just definitely want to send out much love to George and Jonathan Jackson's mother, Georgia Jackson. She raised her sons, and unfortunately, um, that their story is so sad. But they just said, when you read their works, what is it, Poison in My Eye, and Letters of the Soul Dad Brothers. I think I'm saying those right titles. But that you would really get an eye, but just highly intelligent brothers. And we also want to shout out all the political prisoners who are still incarcerated in these Yurugu lands. Mumia Abu Jamal, right? Jamil Al-Amin. So many of them. It's too many to even name here, and that I could think of at this time. But yeah. So listen. And then we need to always and forever do this. Bring the Blackness out of you. Know of our African gods, so many of them, just too many to name. I have a list of 100 names of African gods, but the first African gods you should start with is your African ancestors. If you don't remember any names of any of these gods here, know the names of your African ancestors and develop in your children that African spirituality that is going to take them and hold them, shield them against the madness that is continuing to happen around the world to African people. So I'm Dr. Adjua Haru. I'm on all the social media outlets, and you can holler at me there.
Dr. E, is that the conclusion of your presentation?
Yes.
All right, all right. So at this time, because we still have about 20 minutes left in this session, If anyone would like to switch to listen to Brother Black Panther or Brother Tashango at this time, let me know and I could assign you to those rooms.
Or if you have questions at this time, that's fine.
Dr. E, can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to thank you for an informative and empowering presentation. You provided some steps throughout your presentation about introducing African spirituality to our youth. In your experience, what were some key things, if you could just go back over a couple of key things of introducing African spirituality to our youth for the first time?
Just always start with your own family. Start with your, connect with your ancestors in your family. Of course, start with your worthy elders in your family, right? Because it's your elders that know the family stories, and they will share that they can share those stories with the youth. You can have them record them, telling those stories. A lot of us have stories about lynchings in our families, but we don't talk about it. And that could be something that a person, a youth could ask an elder about, because a lot of times our families were lynched for stuff that's minuscule stuff that's free, just so common, that the youth are exposed to nowadays, or do on a regular basis. Our ancestors, were lynched, and some African people are still being lynched. So that's something, that you could talk about from the past that may be a part of your family story, and is also relevant today. So always start with your own family stories. Our children should know the stories of their families. They should know the names of their ancestors and elders, and they should know the travel stories of their ancestors and elders. Like, for instance, my family, like, we're in Philly now, but I know that my paternal grandparents come from North Carolina. And then my maternal grandparents come from South Carolina and Georgia. Like, just basic things like that. Not basic, but things, those kind of things. Um, when my maternal grandparents got together, they got together in Trenton, New Jersey. I didn't know that till I was an adult, because my family, didn't talk about it. But I happen to have the letters. My next book, y'all. Happen to have the letters from my grandmother that shows that like, my grandmother traveled so much. I was shocked, like, cause she had a lot of children, but she traveled a lot. And then they also own land in New Jersey. I have to see. I actually have the deed. I'm so excited. I actually have the deed to the land, and I'm going to check out the validity of that deed. We might have some land in Jersey that I don't know about. That none of us ever, claim. So great question. Great question, Sante Sana.
And also, Dr. E, if you can hear me, where can
You know
people
what?
get the book?
I'm trying to turn this up. Let me see what I can do. Yeah, let's minimize that. Oh, no, not right now. Let me turn this up. I'm trying to hear you better. Oh, that's up. Okay. So what did you say?
Also about the book, Acclaim, where can people get your book? And can you give like a little background, for the family who may not be familiar with your work? I know you mentioned it in your presentation, but I just want to reinforce it real quick.
Okay. So my book, are you asking me about it? What did you say? I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay, Doctor. I mean, we're working with this technology as best as we can. I was saying
Yes.
about the book. Can you give us a little overview, and also where people can contact you or get the book directly from you as well?
Okay. So I'll read to you from the book. So the book is it's a compilation of my experiences from when I was teaching in an African-centered charter school. And what I found was that the school itself was only as African-centered as the leadership. And so if the leadership, was not African-centered, then, the level of African-centeredness of the school was incongruent to the leadership, the actual leadership of the school. So in other words, if a couple of the people, the leaders were of one of the majority religions. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. One of the majority religions, and so you would see aspects of that religion in the school, even though the school was identifying as African centered. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with that overall, but for me, it was annoying. Oh, the book. In the book, you can get my book. You can only get my book from me, right? Because I'm not letting Jeff Bezos get any money coming from me, coming my way. So it's bad enough I have, like you have to, certain, not you have to, but there are certain things that you do, that we do, that we might not necessarily want to do so that we could execute our end product, so to speak. So, but no, you can only get the book from me. You can, contact me on one of the social media outlets and my number, or you can call me, leave me a message. And my number is, I'm going to type it in here. So it's 484 427 2096. And you can let me know your name and what you want. And also, because I do speaking engagements as well. I taught rites of passage for years, and I'm a researcher, and I do editing. So I do a little bit. I kind of do, a myriad of things that where I can help people who want my help. Okay, so I just put my number in the chat, and you can write it down, or you can reach out to me on social media. That's fine.
Okay. Appreciate that, Dr. E.
Sure.
Also, I wanted to ask, for people that may have, because we have this time now and it's looking like homeschool, so people who want to work cooperatively with each other and form different groups, study groups, rites of passage programs, like you mentioned, what are some tips for them as well?
I didn't hear that last part.
Tips for building community rites of passage programs and study groups for our youth.
Right. So, I just got to shout out Dr. Fale Chionisu, who is doing a lot of work. Sister Keisha, doing a lot of work in terms of helping our youth. Like, we are out here. There are A lot of us who are out here, like I know, I belong to a sister quilting group. I belong to a group where sisters, they use their hands to produce. Like we're trying to get with the younger sisters to, first of all, claim their femininity, right, and be women, and be respectful of themselves, their families, their communities, where they come from and where they are going. Have some idea, help them develop some ideas about where they're going in life. But using your hands to start businesses, like teaching crochet, knitting, sewing, making quilts, doing calligraphy, right? And also me, I'm very interested in teaching African languages to youth, so that they can learn to write in the script of our African ancestors and elders who still are familiar with that art. So yeah, we have there's people out here like, oh, and for parents who are homeschooling, I definitely recommend that you get with seek out, just type in Black homeschool groups or networks on social media, and they will pop up. They are out there. They are available, and there are a lot of us. So many of us who are creatively providing resources and um, teaching resources and implements. African history cards, Black inventors cards. There are, Liberated Minds. Y'all look up Liberated Minds Expo. Let me put that in here. Liberated Minds Expo. Just look them up. They have shared, so every year they have a expo, and of course this year it was virtual, and it's over. But you can still get in touch with them to get an idea of what get an idea of just not only some products and items, of course, Black owned and created, that you can get to and use when in your homeschooling efforts with your children. If you can homeschool, please homeschool. I strongly recommend it. If you can homeschool, please do that. Link up with other parents that you trust and know to continue homeschooling, like because there's a myriad of ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be, that you are tethered to your child um, for several hours a day. It doesn't have to be that. Now you have the freedom to go visit some of these these arboretums, like the Morris Arboretum, and I know there's another one in Bartram Gardens. I'm thinking of places in Philly, but there's a lot of different places where you can educate your child. It doesn't have to be restricted to inside your home. Matter of fact, I recommend that you take them to places and guide them in those places. Go to those cultural exhibits. Go to art shows and some are, a lot of them are virtual. So you can do that as well. Also, a lot of cultural places and events and people that are doing culturally things. A lot of them have teaching guides or worksheets, or they have information where you can also create those activities for your child. So the best source homeschooling are parents who are homeschooling already. And fortunately, in Pennsylvania, there's a large Black homeschool population, homeschooling population. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in here too. Let's see if you search Black. Oh, I got my thing on. Okay. Search Black Homeschool Networks. I'm going to try to remember to repost, because I reposted a whole list when when Philly decided that it wasn't going to open the schools. I reposted, I did a whole list, I did a search, and I did a whole list of Black homeschool networks. So I will repost that on my page as well. But if you ain't trying to wait for me, you can get it, you can do this yourself. So search Black homeschool networks on social media. They're out here, they're out here heavy too. And it's across the country and Canada.
Okay, Dr. E, thank you. I know we only have a few minutes left, so just want to thank you for your time and giving us that empowerment and that action-oriented, illustration in regards to reclaiming our African mind, starting with our precious ancestors returned to our youth. So I know we have a few minutes, and then we have a break, and then we will reconvene at 1:45. 1:45. We got Sister Keisha, we got Dr. Amari Johnson, and the Geechee Motivator who will be in the building. So we're all going to reconvene as we did originally here in the Black Room, and then people will have the opportunity to go to the breakout room. So we appreciate everybody rocking with us and, being patient and resilient, as we called on our warrior ancestors and they want to see what we made of. So if you look at it like that, it's an initiation. Okay, so stick with us, hang in there, and again, thank you, Dr. Ia, for your love and for your jewels.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate love, the chance and opportunity to share and build with the family. We have a lot of work to do, but you know what? We come from people who have shown us what to do, and it's not a problem. We're gonna continue to get it done. So, Dante Sana, everyone. With that, I say I will see y'all in some of the other chats, I think.
Intro to O, and my dude that Timbuktu to Ave. For renew your passion, shun the condition, and not the who, what, when, where, and you are from. Put the higher in hierarchy. Climber, paint a picture, no crime, reppin' Garvey, and all that's godly. Sorry, I can't relate, I'm warrior Masi. Zulu pull up on Fasi and catch a body. Enemies near and far declaring.